Hi, this is Zach Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Thursday, the 7th of August. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which is rather surprisingly dithering near the better levels that we've had in the recent past. So towards the 9180 zone, the high so far in this run has been up towards the 84 level and 9190 at the end of last week. But looking for further progress towards that red resistance line projection from May as high as 92.40. Best case, the 92.40 by the end of this month. Best case by the end of next month, up to 9400, which is the top of that rising trend channel from back in May with the upper resistance line projection. On the downside, hoping that the top of the old channel there around 90.80 and the support line there from June will act as a combination to support this market. Worst case, I suppose, would be down to the 90.30 area, the initial August support for this market. Moving along to the DAX, which is having a slightly better day than the FTSE in relative terms. Here up 1%. We're in this bull flag situation, or at least a descending price channel, which hopefully will be bull flag, lead to bull flag breakout. The top of the flag there around 24,400. So we're looking for an end of day close above that to then lead up towards 25,300 in the top of last year's trend channel by the end of this month as a best case scenario target. On the downside, still have the risk of a rug pull back towards 23,000, but that now looks less likely given that we have closed that gap down that we had at the end of last month. So basically back above the 24,000 level, which is the magic number for this market. The other concern was that the RSI was below neutral 50, which has now been corrected. And the final concern was the way that the 50-day line was falling to start this month, but that now has gone flat to actually slightly up if you look closely. Moving along to the Dow, and here it's been a situation where we've been in a range, 44,000 to 45,000, had to have a rug pull dip down to the 50-day line, which was factored in 43,500. While we're above that rising 50-day line and above neutral 50 on the RSI versus 51 at the moment, looking for 45,000 to be taken out and then a move up to the top of that rising trend channel from May last year as high as 47,000 by the end of next month, probably at the end of this month, a bit sort of optimistic given the ongoing tariffs that we seem to be hit with on a regular basis, or at least tariff news and tariff strategies from the White House. Moving along to our couple of cryptos that we look at. The first one is Bitcoin, and here back above 115, which is good in the sense that that was the July support level around that level. We want to see a move back above that to confirm that it's a bear trap below the 115 level. Tested the old May resistance and the 50-day line and the floor of that channel there from March at 112, and we have bounced in an okay fashion. The only thing missing at the moment is that the RSI is still below neutral 50 at 49, so probably want to see a decent end of day close back above 115 to then give us the promise of 120 plus by the in the next week or two. Best case, obviously, up to 130,000, but probably the way things are looking at would be for the end of next month rather than the end of this month. Worst case, obviously, is a rug pull back down to July support around the 105 level. Moving on to Ethereum, where there have been hopes by some that this market would start outperforming Bitcoin. And in some ways, it is, in the sense that over the near term, we've had a decent bounce, but we are still way away from record highs. So the equivalent level for this would be well clear of 4,000 if it was in keeping up pace with Bitcoin. But we have had an RSI 50 rebound, and we are above the top of the rising trend channel from March, around 3,600. The longer we stay above that, the greater the chance of a move up towards 4,400, the upper parallel of that rising trend channel by the end of next month, or hopefully a bit sooner than that. The ideal scenario is that we head higher from this point and actually get to 4,400 by the end of August. Moving on to gold, where there's been a bit of jiggery pokery in the recent past. The market sort of taking a bit longer than we would have liked to have a new leg to the upside through 3,500. Still got that line there from April around 34.30, and want to see an end of day close above that so that we can get up to as high as 3,800. And once again, by the end of next month rather than by the end of this month, given that we've been stalling for the last 3 months on this market. For the channel there, 33.20, we're comfortably above that and comfortably above the 50-day line as well, 33.40. But if there's a rug pull, then we can't rule out a final dip towards the 3200 zone. RSI in a good place at 53, so still regarding this as half full rather than half empty on the technical front. Moving on to the stocks and starting off with critical metals, which has obviously been through hell in the recent past. What can be said, though, is that we gapped down to start the week, and looks as though that was an overshoot. The shares opened at the low of the day, closed at the high. I call that sort of a power drill in terms of the price action. We're back above the old support there from July at 3.5 pence, and the longer we stay above that, the greater the chance of a move at least back up to 5 pence and maybe even up to 7 pence by the end of this month is the best case scenario target to retest the 50-day moving average. If pushed, probably around the 6 pence level could be the upside, even if the market then comes back down again. A rather better looking picture at EnergyPathways now. We've the second or third time of asking, we managed to clear that resistance line there from the end of October and also find support above the 50-day line at 4.7 pence. The initial target here, as a minimum, should be the 200-day line rising at 6.75 pence, but hoping for 8 pence by the end of this month while we're above that 50-day line. Multiple support points there at RSI 50, so that is a big, well, they are a big leading indicator on the upside. You don't normally only get one or two. There have been several there, so that does look very good indeed. And the first hint that the 50-day line is rising as well, so maybe after quite some months in the wilderness, we'll have EnergyPathways actually returning to form and giving us the kind of move that we had back in October once again. On to Eurasia, where dual listing news seems to be propping up the situation. But the RSI back above neutral 50, bounce for the RSI, double bounce just below neutral 50. 50 and 200-day lines both rising in parallel now, so that should suggest we'll have the breakout through that rather sticky 5 to 5.5 pence level. Looking for 8 pence as on a conservative target by the end of next month, while we're above that 50-day line at 4.25 pence. Onto a stock which maybe not quite as exciting, but could be European metals. Here we had the gap higher to start August, and we've had a partial fill of that gap. We're back up at 9.5 pence, but it's a failed gap fill is actually a decent signal. And let's see, even though it's very liquid or relatively liquid, let's see if we can get up to 14 pence by the end of next month while we hold the gap and we stay above the 50 and 200-day lines around 8.75 pence. On to a situation which was requested yesterday and still seems to have some momentum. We got stuck at 0.95, but we have been looking for 1.05 on Europa oil and gas, and we're still looking for that while we're above resistance on the way down, around the 0.75 pence levels, above 3/4 of a penny. Looking for 1 pence plus on that situation. Moving down the list, interesting that there are rumblings of peace talks in Ukraine, and the reason for including Ferrexpo is that given those talks, and presumably not many people believe it, but we are at the bottom of the range for Ferrexpo, and clearly it would be a big winner if there was any movement on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Looking for a break of the recent resistance, 49 pence, and end of day close above that, we could see a move to fill the gap up towards 62 pence with or without peace, just on a technical basis. RSI is also pushed above neutral 50 to stand at 53, and we are now just above the 50-day line, the blue line there, at 48 pence. So maybe one or two people might think that this is worth taking a punt on. The other point to note is that we've had a bear trap rebound and a gap close buy signal as well. So bear trap rebound from below 44 pence. So a few positive ticks there in terms of the technicals at Ferrexpo, with or without peace in our time. Moving on to fusion antibodies, which has hit our target on the nose. It was hit that target line on the nose, which is obviously something to celebrate. Here, the line there around 13.7 pence, so that was the high. High today, 13.75, so almost perfectly hit that situation. And probably now looking for the next level up, which would be the upper parallel of that rising trend channel, and that's currently heading towards 21 pence. We'd be looking for that by the end of next month, maybe a bit sooner, given the way that I think we've had recent quite strong patent news for the company, which is a game changer in terms of getting a grant of the patent for Optimal. So quite a breakthrough there on the fundamentals. Looks as though we're finally there on that. Moving on to Serco, which is benefiting from its activities in the asylum seeker hotel space. Here we've hit the top of the channel there at £2.20. Above that, looking for the resistance line projection, the upper parallel of that rising trend channel from October. As high as £2.40. I'm looking for that by the end of this month. We see 2/3 bounces for the RSI at neutral 50, so that ties in with the strength that we have here, gapping through, unfilled gaps through the resistance tend to be very strong signals, obviously, while they remain unfilled. Moving on to a stock which I've never covered before, and I don't think anyone's really heard of, but it's Vanquis Banking, not Vanquish. Here we've got a rising trend channel that's been in their place since February, and we're looking for £1.32 by the end of next month, while we hold above recent broken resistance at 109. So let's see if the attractive risk reward there pans out for the bulls. Finishing off with the Westmount, where rumours of good things happening. The good thing which is already happening is that we've had blue candles since the 30th of July every day. So that does indicate strength. That indicates that we're holding the recent gains, or we are set to hold the bulk of the recent gains. Top of that broadening triangle there from September, heading for 3.2 pence. Maybe one could upgrade it a little bit towards 3.3. And we're looking for that really while we're on the right side of recent support, 1.9 pence. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.